part of that is that no one's actually watching the show yet. So I'm like, oh, 0 viewers? Fantastic. Hopefully
0 viewers.
Hopefully when people watch this later, they appreciate this moment. Oh, the YouTube says there's 4 people watching. So,
oh dear God.
If you're watching, I'm one of them. So if you're watching, hi, we're back. Obviously,
those
now with we're back with really stupid but hilarious, we think, intros. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. We're back. Okay. Sorry for the long hiatus. We kind of just sometimes get busy with life, and when there's not an actual season, we're like, well, we should have a show, and then it doesn't happen. But we're back. Hopefully we'll try to do this like more regularly now that the season is up here. If anyone needs to remember who we are, I don't know why we're so unforgettable. I'm kidding. I'm not that full of myself. I'm Courtney. That's Jen, Danielle, and Karen. And we're here to talk about the opening season. No,
we're at year 6. We're at year 6 here.
What?
Opening week.
Sorry. Opening
season. We're at year 6.
Star Killer says, who says no one's watching? And to be fair, it told me no one was watching at the time.
So how dare you forget Star Throat? Star Killer, sorry.
Welcome back. We're just going to kind of get right into it because I feel like, we want to keep these from not being too long. I say that every time and it's always super long. But we're going to do the games, and then there's some things maybe happened. There might have been a questionable call that happened. There may have been some news. Somebody went somewhere that wasn't in Houston. I mean, whoops.
I don't want to talk about it.
So we'll get going right off the bat. If you have anything to add or questions or whatnot, I'm trying to watch the chat. I don't excel at multitasking, so just give me a minute and I will.
Can I pause?
They're talking. Danielle wants to pause. What's up?
I like the casual arm up, tattoo out, just kind of chilling back there.
It's really hot in our room, so like, and I have my sleeves rolled up because
it's just a cool look. I just was really excited that we have this tough image for this year. So
I'm not warm, and I'm usually the warm one, and I'm in a Star Wars Yoda onesie, and I'm like a little bit chilly, so I don't really know what's going on with her today, why she's so warm, but it's all good. All right, so we'll go right into how to think. So we had kind of interesting the first game of the season being a rematch of the championship between Portland and North Carolina. I guess I'll switch it up. I always go to Jen last, and she's like, "Great, everyone said everything I want to say right now." She's also kind of, I guess, the resident, like, at least quasi Portland supporter. So we'll just kick it over and see what your thoughts or any. And kind of just first week back for a while, so kind of just really no structure. Whatever you want to say about the game, just go for it.
It made me sad.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate.
Starting note.
Sad. I was hoping that Crystal Dunn was going to bury one. As much as I am not a North Carolina fan, like, I still got to pull for Crystal Dunn because she's Crystal Dunn, and like, I'm just not. I can't just desert her like that. But also, I really hope this game was not indicative of what Portland intends to do with Angela Salem for the rest of the season, considering she sat on a bench. I think she's a great player. I think she's an underrated player. And I'm really hoping moving forward they figure out how to utilize her because I think she could fit into that team very well if she has a chance to develop that chemistry. Angela Salem is just kind of one of those versatile players that you can kind of throw anywhere and she's going to make something happen.
I also feel bad, not to interrupt that. She's been on the same team too. She's been on 8 different teams and not 8 different teams. She's been bounced around I don't even know. So I just I agree with that, wanting her to be successful and do well and all that shenanigans.
Yeah. Other than that, it just Portland really didn't look great. I don't know what's going on, if their dynamics are just a little shaky, a little bit rusty first game of the season. I don't know, but hopefully they pull it together and don't continuously make me sad like this.
I'm not going to give too much analysis. I'll leave that for other people. But I in the nicest way possible, am not a huge Portland fan. And I don't really I don't have a team really, but if I had to pick a team, it would be North Carolina, only cause who talks like that?
You do.
Cool.
Says dope.
Hey, thanks for bringing that up. I say North Carolina only because there's so many Flash carryover people there that I just feel like I need to cheer for them. I don't know. I miss them. Rest in peace, Flash. And everyone else, Breakers, FCKC. Sorry, everybody. I was also, though, kind of surprised. Like, not that North Carolina didn't play well, but I was like, what is Portland doing? Like, are they tired from the like, what happened? Also not really super impressed that Lindsey Horan is starting the quest for as many yellow cards as we can get in the early. I still don't know how she's avoided so many fifth card sit outs. I don't really know, but she just came in like a wrecking ball, I guess. The Miley Cyrus.
God damn you.
I'm in a rare mood today. That's all I really have to say. We'll go to Danielle.
I didn't watch.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know if you had other things to like.
I will. You can keep coming to me, and I'll keep going.
Okay.
For those who are wondering if I didn't do my due diligence, I needed a mental health weekend because opening weekend hurts. So I didn't watch.
Totally cool. Someone Starkiller just said, I believe Salem's going back to school until May. Or that's what one of the WOSO reporters said. I haven't seen that. I'll have to do some digging to check it out. I'm not saying that's not what's possible. I haven't. Listen, I was just saying before we got on the show that a couple of us are admins in the National Women's Soccer League Facebook group, and I set the game post to schedule at 9 a.m. and then did not really go back on social media until I don't know later on in the day. So I haven't really been following my media as much as I should be. So forgive me for that. And we'll go to Karen.
Cool. Oh no. Sorry, Sony. The thing that I noticed was that Portland started with 5 back, and I'm not saying that I'm not a coach, I'm not a professional, and I'm not very good at analysis, but that felt very silly to have a 5 back, because especially when Portland started just getting wrecked in the midfield, I mean, between O'Sullivan and Dabinia, they were just having their way with Horan and I'm blanking on whoever else was even in the midfield, honestly, because they were really forgettable. I mean, Portland without Henri, without Dagny Brynjarsdottir, without Tobin, without who else was in the midfield? Ali Long. Without any of those players, it was just super forgettable, and it was just Horan, bulldozing everybody. Because that was what she was doing again for some reason. That's just what she does. And then between Sinclair, she just couldn't do all of it herself. Klingenberg was getting smoked on the sidelines by the likes of Merritt Mathias and other people.
That's because she was too busy filling out her Disney bracket.
With some really questionable choices. Not that I can talk. I did mine dope up on Benadryl, but still.
Now I have to go look at it because it was very close for mine too. So I don't know. Maybe hers is great.
Not like Kling is watching this, but if somebody happens to pass this along to Kling, your Disney choices are questionable.
Ooh,
we're really going at it first week.
I mean, you guys are the Disney too, so I mean, you are the authorities.
I'm not. Don't take what I have to say because I did
By
not,
proxy.
Yoda onesie.
By proxy.
I did mine not based on what I thought was the actual best movie. I just picked my favorites.
Same.
I did the ride attraction bracket today, and I was just like, I'm gonna pick what I like the best. I don't care what this is supposed to be, but
Yep. Same.
sorry, but yeah. So that was just kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
and I get, and I don't like to blame games on the condition, but for both teams that sucked. Like it looked, someone just said like, oh, you know, purse wiping on the sideline. Yeah, that's not great. Starkiller asks, thoughts on Portland's new signing that I can't spell for the life of me. This is going to be so horrible. I don't even think I know anything about her. Or I'm sure I know something about her. I can't think of who you're talking about right now.
An international?
Yeah, they signed. Oh shoot, I forgot her name.
Again, not to be disrespectful, but I couldn't even tell you what players were playing on the pitch for Portland because I just don't know what happened.
I knew at the time, but they were very forgettable.
Yeah, she was in the Frauen Bundesliga. She's pretty solid.
The expert here on the German stuff, so we'll let her talk about this.
Yeah, she's coming over from Frankfurt. So of course, being from Frankfurt, you know, it's an interesting thing because I feel like had she been coming over from like the Bayern Munich ladies or something like that, she would have had kind of the similar gear of the Thorns. Like Bayern Munich kind of is to the Frauen Bundesliga what Portland is to the NWSL as far as like fan base and things of that nature. So I feel like she's going to really shine in Portland because of that, because it's almost like she's stepping into a different kind of spotlight now. So I think as long as they utilize her well, she will do well in Portland.
Also, so that's thanks for that bailout, because all of us were just like, sure. Also, these comments came in as Danielle was talking about being sad about not watching the opening, not being sad because of that, but why, if you don't watch the opening weekend, being sad. Commiserations to Diane and to Starkiller about not having teams. Again, my team left last year, so.
Diane had a worse off season than me, so I can't complain too much. It's water, but here's for you.
She'd pour one out if it wouldn't make a mess on her apartment. So
I'm trying to get my deposit back. I'm moving, so I can't. So girl's got to get her deposit.
That's fair. So we'll move on ahead to Starkiller asks, so did you think the Sauerbrunn penalty is like one of the worst calls in the NWSL? I'm gonna go ahead and say it certainly is up there. So we're on that note, gonna talk about the Royals and the Pride, which I actually thought was like a good game. I thought was like a pretty decent game, had the potential to be a good game. I won't, like I said, I'll let everyone else talk first because I know there's like varying degrees. Everyone's got lives, and I was the only one who really sat around and actually could dedicatedly watch all. And Karen too, apparently. I was doing wedding favors while watching the Pride Royals game, being miserable, trying to fill lightsabers with candy. So that was probably the only reason why I paid so much attention to that game, is because I was trying to not focus on what I was doing. But Danielle, I'll go. Do you have any comment? We'll let you talk about. We'll let you talk about the and everyone else can chime in too. But the penalty call was.
Well, first I definitely wanted to avoid that game because I know some KC fans are going over to Utah because the players are all over there, and I love my girls. I love the players, but I can't. So I was doubly trying to avoid it, but I was watching a show, and all of a sudden Twitter went crazy. So when Becky Sauerbrunn getting a yellow card, I was like, let me investigate, because that doesn't happen. We all know Becky. Yeah, that was a really bad call. I mean, we were talking before the show. The first thing is that not only did it go off her face, where you could see the mark on her face, and they called it a handball. They called it a deliberate handball at that. If you looked at the press pool at the end, which it's no hand of God. She wasn't palming it in. She wasn't doing anything like that. It was just What a garbage call. And the worst part is it's the ref from the final, right? Danielle, whatever. She's the ref from the final. Like, hey, you guys are just talking off muted.
No, I was trying to.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm putting more deodorant on because I'm really hot.
Trying to figure out how to mute my mic. So
I'm talking about the injustice that was done to Rebecca Elizabeth Sauerbrunn, my favorite person in the whole wide world, and yes, that includes family. And you're putting on deodorant and laughing. All right.
I was
disrespect. That is
how to mute the mic so nobody heard her.
I just saw your mouth move, but it was muted.
Sorry.
And so that was fun. Anyways,
Danielle, please continue.
I was trying to say nice and fresh for your conversation about Becky Sauerbrunn here.
Anyways, it was a bad call. It was by the ref from the final, and then made worse by that freaking ref pool thing where they said it was deliberate when off her face. The red mark, you could see it. Her hand. Becky doesn't foul.
Here. Her hand was maybe shoulder, and you could tell. You could tell.
I would say, in the nicest way possible, like in this league, sometimes there are bad calls, and normally people will let you know right away when they feel like a bad call has been made, or like a call should be made. And the fact that no one from Orlando was like, "Whoa, handball in the box, penalty," like is sort of like a indication of like maybe that was something to know. And I guess I don't really understand. Like I'm super appreciative that there's like an opportunity for the reporters at the game to ask questions of the officials. That that's something that happens in MLS and is new to NWSL. But I think in game 2 of the season was really kind of I like the thought of it, but I think those that pose more questions or more, I guess, angst than to say deliberately is kind of odd. And then why the yellow card was given about like being unsportsmanlike. Again, if you say you just give the yellow card because like she handled the ball in the box, that's okay. But like I don't know. So just a little, and I don't want to start a whole. I don't like to go. I don't want to go in super hard on the officials because like that's kind of out of my area of really what I want to personally talk about. But I think that's I guess maybe raise a little bit more questions and gave answers of why that was called the way it was.
I only pointed it out because I believe they said it was her because that's 2 NWSL games in a row. That's just been not great there. So just, which, you're learning, but it's like.
There was almost a willfulness to it, though. Like the answers, it just felt like, you know what, and her behavior. So yellow card and like stuff like that. And it was kind of like, no, you made a mistake and you kind of know it now and you're just being kind of a butt.
Well, so, you say that the ref on the field felt like it was a yellow, and then you don't have to deny it wasn't a yellow. You could say the call was made. If review afterwards, whatever, but
yeah,
no use to double down.
It would have been like, oh, all right, well, it was a bad call, but okay. But
real quick, just to make another, Alyssa mentioned something. Alyssa on watching the show mentioned something about, again, not to I'm not bringing this up to like crap on the refs some more, but like it was something that happened, and that's not necessarily that ref's responsibility. This would be like the assistant line person. I don't know referee terms, but. Just Alyssa had mentioned like the delayed or the non, I guess, offside call when Alex Morgan ended up getting concussed. Again, yeah, that's probably something like if she was offside, maybe something we should probably call a little earlier because maybe someone would have pulled up and not smacked heads or whatnot. Again, not blaming the officials for like Alex Morgan getting a concussion, but. I will say I really mainly brought that up to touch on Alyssa's point, but also to talk about, I had posed the question because I don't really remember this of if there was, because then the announcers are like, will Alex Morgan come back second half? And I'm like, dear God, I hope not. Like, is there a concussion? So I would kind of pose it out to Twitter and some of the people who I know things better than I do in the league about like, is there a concussion protocol? Like, is it like, I don't expect it to be like NFL level because you're not getting tackled every play of the game and stuff like that. But like, I also want to know like, I have some questions. Who is checking a player out? Like, is there a protocol? What's going on? And I was happy to actually see that. that they
Well, I mean,
they were taking that seriously and then not allowing her back in. I was kind of wondering, like, okay, well, even when the second half started, like, was that Alex didn't feel well enough to play? Was that a Tom Sermani was like, you're not playing, or was that again a medical personnel saying like, you're in concussion protocol, you're not playing? So either way, I was happy to see that. Even someone else in Utah got kind of hit in the head. Definitely not as serious, but I appreciated that she spent a decent amount of time on the sideline getting checked by a trainer, making sure that, you know, everything was good to go before she came back. So I do appreciate that the league is taking that seriously and actually like kind of making sure people are really okay before coming back. And I know like
Helped her out too.
yeah, with Ali Krieger, there was a concussion protocol when that happened in Houston, but I make that as a little different because she actually had to get carted off the field. But it's good to see that there's different. I guess there's a protocol that takes into account a lot of different things, severity, things like that. So I was happy to see that from the NWSL, but
definitely a valid thing to use. We're talking like it's definitely a valid thing to bring up, especially with MLS. It's such a big deal too, because I know we're not here to talk about Broso, but it's just a huge topic where they don't take it as seriously. And then you got people like Taylor. I don't remember his last name, but, you know, had to retire because of concussion. So, you know, MLS is just starting to take it seriously. So it's nice that, you know, if the NWSL is getting on it quick as well. So
for sure. Karen, thoughts on the Orlando Royals game? Becky Sauerbrunn?
Yeah.
We've all kind of been chiming in about the PK that was, but
right. As far as like the gameplay, I will say that it was actually a pretty interesting game. It was exciting to see Utah come out as quickly as they did and get that goal from Gunny. That was cool. Mm-hmm. The PK that shouldn't have been aside, I think Orlando put together a pretty good performance as well. They were pretty evenly matched. I think just Orlando couldn't break that Utah backline, including Abby Smith. She had a really good game. So I think Harvey, you can tell Harvey is still trying to kind of get the team on the same level, get them to gel, which most teams are kind of doing that. But I think for a team that is like brand new, literally from top to bottom, it's going to be probably a little more difficult. But I don't know. The front line for Orlando was Sid LaRue and Alex Morgan and Marta, which is 3 quality players. But I think that it wasn't working for them at all. Maybe it was Becky Sauerbrunn plus Kelly O'Hara plus whoever else was on the Utah backline. Or maybe those 3 just don't work as well as Alex Morgan and Marta did when they played last season together. And they like were just like gathering up all of these like assists and goals together like it was nobody's business. Or maybe it's the first game, so they're having struggles. But it was very interesting to see those 3 up top. And before the game, everybody was like, oh, dang, Utah's in trouble. And I was like, Becky Sauerbrunn, Kelly O'Hara, Abby Smith. I don't think so. And I was right. So I was right. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I think Orlando's backline maybe hasn't been gelling or wasn't gelling in that one yet. It hasn't been. They had 1 game. So yeah, I don't know. And I know we've talked about the referees and stuff, but I think that there were probably 5 or 6 head situations in that 1 game. And I think that as a referee, you can probably usually take care of that by calling things early in the game. Calling things early on in the game and maybe stopping players from going as hard when they're going up for the ball, or I don't know. I'm not a referee, but there has to be a way to kind of stem all of these head things that were happening on both teams, because it was kind of like disconcerting and scary to watch. So if we could like maybe do something about that, because I don't really want any players. Do something about it. I don't really want any players having any more concussions because this is the first game of the season and we already had somebody, or not first game, but first day of the season and we already had somebody with a concussion, and that's not good. So.
Oh, I have Facebook open. Sorry. Yeah, I agree with all that, and we're gonna move on. I know I said I don't want this to be a long show, and we're halfway through. It's half an hour, but there was a lot of shenanigans. It's fine. We're gonna move on to Seattle and Washington. That was a late game. I'm gonna come. Normally, I go to Karen first for Seattle, and I will come to Karen second. But I got to go to Jen because something really yay worthy happened that I'm sure she wants to talk about. So normally I would come to you for Seattle, but I got to go for now to chat about it.
She's also making it up to me that she totally skipped anything I had to say about the last game.
Oh, I did. So sorry.
So Washington, Seattle.
Apparently that was not intentional. I'm making up to her that I skipped her for the last game. So please go ahead. I just whacked my hand on the laptop.
So yes, Joe Lohman. Everybody knows that I'm a very large Joe Lohman fan, and welcome back, Joe. It was a nice goal. That was a stunning goal. It wasn't a banana bend, but it was a stunning goal.
I really hope anyone out there remembers this reference and continue. Sorry.
I know that Joe had a lot of personal things, obviously with the injury, things going on. A lot of people questioning her return, whether or not she's going to play, things of that nature. She spent a little bit of time in the Ivory Coast, working with youth and whatnot there, and all of these personal experiences kind of culminated into that goal, and it was such a beautiful thing to see, and I'm so happy for her. I can't even put into words how excited I am for her to get that goal. So even though they lost, to me that was a little victory, just because I feel like a proud mama bear right now. So hey, Joe.
Right on. Good job, Joe. Karen, we'll go to you, and I just remind me if I forget. Once you're done, I have a question. Someone asked, Starkiller asked a question, and I'm gonna let you field. I'll let you go.
Ooh. Okay. So, what the power what did NWSL just put out? My brain is
power rankings that sort of subjective and not really
no, because honestly, the Spirit should be higher than they were in the power rankings. I don't know what game they were watching, because the Spirit kind of took control of the second half, which was very, very considerable.
Sorry, you kind of
I think in the first half. Okay, first half was controlling the game. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. You guys are making faces
you were lagging. You were lagging.
Moment there.
Oh, okay.
You're fine now. You're good. You're good.
That's story of my life on the lagging thing. So basically, the first half, the Reign was controlling everything. The forwards were doing amazing defensive work between Yanez and Naho and Taylor. I mean, they would lose the ball and in 2 seconds they would get it back again. And it was incredibly impressive, and great to see. And they looked very hungry on every single line. And the defense looked a little bit better than they looked last season, which was good. Betos had a really good game. She was amazing. And our midfield was really solid, which has been a problem since Keelan Winters retired. And it was solid. And honestly, I know that I'm not typically huge on talking big on Ali Long, but she had a really solid game for the Reign. And I was impressed. And maybe a little bit surprised because I'm kind of a jerk. And yeah, it was, I honestly, like, I'm a believer in Vlatko, Danielle.
What have I been telling you?
I'm a believer. I really am. I mean, everybody, even Vlatko, like, they all looked super hungry, like they wanted to win, and that was exciting. Even in the second half, they still looked really hungry, but I think they were kind of being broken down by the Spirit, because the Spirit kind of figured out what they were doing. And then Joe Lohman came on the field, and she was, but they couldn't do anything about her. That goal was sick. It was really sick. But yeah, it was really exciting to see Pino, right? It was really exciting to see Pino get that free kick goal 7 minutes in. I was like, listen, if that's how she's going to do it, like in the first game, in the first 7 minutes, this is going to be a pretty good season. So that was exciting to see as a Reign fan too. But I think the Spirit deserve way more credit than I think people have been giving them for that game. Yeah, they lost 2-1, but they owned that second half. And Mal Pugh was having a really good game too. She was controlling that forward line and basically making mincemeat of a lot of our Reign players, which was concerning. And then also just a shout out to Aubrey Bledsoe, because she was easily the goalkeeper of the week for me. I mean, they were pounding her, and she kept it to 2 goals. And a lot of the stops that she made were really like acrobatic and impressive. So yeah. So shout out to Aubrey Bledsoe, because she was amazing. I think besides Pino, I think she had probably one of the best games on the field. So and that's saying something, because Betos was pretty good too, but Bledsoe, man.
And the question is, so
Scared.
Rapinoe says, thought Rapinoe got gassed at around the 70th minute. Is her seeming lack of fitness an issue for the Reign? And this has been discussed in other areas. Like, this is, and I don't think I watched that late of the game, so I can't really talk about Pino seeming gassed, but I feel like that has been an issue in the past, with her kind of tiring out, at a certain point. But do you think that's going to be an issue for the Reign?
I don't think so. She probably was a little bit gassed, but like, everybody on the field looked gassed by that point, because I think everybody on both teams was just like going 110% for longer than just that first half. So, I mean, everybody looked pretty gassed. And yeah, I think Megan Rapinoe, probably her fitness isn't what it would have been when she was like maybe like 26, 27, because she's like, what, 31, 32 now? But I mean, I will take 70 minutes of Pino busting her ass and doing that defensive work, and all of her like crazy assist work and all of that stuff that she was doing, all of the crosses that she was putting into the box and everything. I'll take 70 minutes of that and a substitute any day over 90 minutes of Pino. So I think that they'll be perfectly fine. They have a pretty deep bench as far as attacking. So, I mean, I think she'll be fine. I mean, Morgan Andrews came in, and she was really, really fantastic. We have Spencer, who's really fast. I think she's probably going to have to kind of work herself into the team, because she was like, in the first match. And then we have Addo, who was really great in the preseason match that I saw. So, I mean, we've got a deep bench, and I don't think that it's going to really be that big of an issue for the Reign if she is gassed by 70 minutes. Pino is 32. Thank you, Danielle. There you go.
9 months older than me, and I'm winded going up the stairs. And again, I'm not a professional athlete, but I feel winded makes sense. You hit about 27, and it's all downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Funny fact is that I have also been having kind of a rough week of like, things have just been hurting. And Jen's like, you're old. And I was like, when does that happen? And she's like, well, you're almost 32. And I'm like, is that it? Is that the time that it happens at 32? Is this what's happening? Is it all downhill from here?
For all
my
you,
knees hurt, my hip hurts.
That's literally my hip has been hurting. I've been having a lot of stuff going on this week.
for all of you younger viewers, I apologize. It's all downhill once you hit 25. Like,
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Let's change the show and talk about being old.
No, we're gonna move on because we've already been talking for like a super long time.
We need Karen to know.
I'm 29.
Are you 29?
Yeah.
You got that youthful glow.
Thank you.
We're gonna just scoot on. We're gonna scoot on over to a game that I don't really have a whole lot to say about. So maybe
This is a mess.
or maybe we'll just wrap this show up real quick. I don't know, but Chicago and Houston. I didn't watch the game. I'm not gonna lie. Did anyone watch the game? I don't. We'll come to for just a couple. We'll just I don't want to disrespect Houston or Chicago, but Sunday was just hard. It was hard for me to like get into watching a game on Sunday. But from what I understand, there's like a lot of Houston isn't that bad, woohoo! And then on the other camp is, but Chicago is missing all these players, wow! So from what I understand, just from watching some little highlights and just kind of people's reactions, that you could look at it one of two ways: either Houston isn't as bad as people thought they would be, or Chicago, or they are, and Chicago just didn't have all their players. Or I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, that people kind of have undersold Houston a little bit, and also like Chicago is in fact missing a lot of people. But I also don't think, from what, again, the little bits that I kind of tried to go back and look at a little bit, and from what I've heard, Chicago didn't really play that well. And I'm just gonna. Anyone have any thoughts about this game? Because Jen does. Nope. Karen, we'll go to Karen.
Okay.
Again, not to be disrespectful, it's one game I didn't watch, so
I'm moving. I have an excuse for this game. I was moving.
You're totally excused. Go ahead, Roxy. Karen.
I don't have any excuses. That's why I watch, because I don't do anything else. So Houston actually was impressive. And I don't think it was just that Chicago was missing all of their players. A lot of people in all of like the chat groups were like, well, Chicago's missing their players. And then it got to a point where I was just making fun of them for harping on it all the time, because Houston didn't have Ojai. They didn't have some of their other players. I mean, that's just how it is for certain teams. Sometimes you start the NWSL season without all of your like Asian players who are playing in like the Asian Cup, for instance.
Australia players.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of players that just weren't playing this weekend, and you just have to trust in your core players to put on a good enough performance to get points out of it. And I mean, they did get the point because they did tie it in like the last 2 minutes. Which I think was a really huge disappointment for Houston, because they held them off for like 50 plus minutes. So I mean, that always sucks when the team ties it up in the last 2 minutes. But yes, Houston controlled the game.
Especially when that game ends on penalty kicks.
Okay, let's bring 2 champions 2 years ago. Let's just be cool.
I don't like talking about championship.
Flat out left. So.
Yeah, she was just like, bye.
We are gonna wrap it up in a minute, though.
Yeah, basically, Houston played better than people thought they were going to play, and Chicago played worse than people thought they were going to play. And props to Houston, because they put on a good show in front of their home crowd. I wish that they had been able to get 3 points, because maybe they would have gotten more people going to their games, or who knows. But yeah, it was pretty good.
Right on. And on that note, it's kind of fitting we ended with Houston. Obviously, the Kristen Press saga is over. I think probably most to many of our just
for now.
For now, yeah, I know. For now, Does anyone have any thoughts on that? I guess I have not talked about this on the show. I don't think we had a show, but I just am in the camp of it could have probably been handled a little bit better. All the way around, and I'm kind of in the camp of like if people want to make the argument that players don't make enough to not have a say in where they go, I want that to be true for all players and not just the U.S. National team players. Yeah. And that's, I guess, all I really will say on that is I am fine. People make the argument that like you should be able to decide where you want to go, but that is not an opportunity that is afforded to non-national team players. I
guess.
So that's really all and especially I guess considering that national team players do get national team money, so they are making more, not necessarily in NWSL money, but I just that's I guess all I'll say about it is that if people want to say that people don't make enough in this league to not have a say in where they go, I am fine with that. I just wish that would in practice extend to all players and not just national team players. And that's
well, you brought up an interesting point when you're talking about the U.S. national team salary. The complicated thing is they don't play for their clubs. They play for the national team and they're put on clubs. So it definitely complicates things. Yeah. I know it's been beat to death. Whatever. I pretend I can talk today. We're all kind of sick of it. Mm-hmm. I think that, like you said, it could have handled better. I'm in the camp. I firmly believe Houston knew the whole time she was never coming, and it just waited until, I think it was a brilliant strategy for negotiating, but it is whatever. Press never wanted to come play for the U.S. for the league. Nothing like, not bashing the league,
right?
But she's happy where she was. She was forced to come. She always wanted to stay in Sweden. I don't think she handled it the best, but at the other, whatever,
Yeah, when I say handled better, I mean pretty much
from everybody. Yeah,
by all sides. I brought up the thing about the players and deciding where they go because that's just a point that I feel strong.
Yeah,
I do think that I'm not trying to start any kind of like a shit show from blaming anyone about anything, but I do think just in general, all the way around, that could have been handled. I think everyone will agree with that. Probably could have been handled a little bit better. But
yep.
Anyone else thoughts about that?
You guys covered it pretty good.
None of us want to talk about it.
And that's fine.
I agree with you guys.
I gotta bring it up just because it's news and that's what we're here to talk about kind of the events that happened in NWSL this week, and that's fine.
I'm also scared to talk about it too much. And I won't go into details, but please leave my mentions alone. I think we all know what that implies, but please leave me alone. I'm not bashing anybody.
Ditto. Just general comments.
Y'all can come at me. It's fine. I don't have a Twitter. Find me on Facebook.
You don't have a Twitter, okay?
She said, "Find me on Facebook." Don't get me.
Alrighty. So I wanted to keep that around a half an hour, but 45 minutes isn't terrible. So yeah, we'll hopefully be back, on more of a regular basis, if not weekly. I sure know there's going to be some time in the season where we're not going to be here at all. So we'll let everyone know. But just keep an eye on our Twitter, social media of when we're going to be on. We usually try to give you guys a couple days notice at least. So thanks for checking the show out this week. Love, the interactiveness and chat as always. So we will catch you all hopefully soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.